Hello, and today we're doing predictions for matchday number 22 of the EFL Championship 2020 to 21 season. And we are predicting a number of games today. It's going to be 11 because the Millwall versus Watford game has been postponed due to a rise in cases in the Millwall squad of COVID-19. So let's get into it. But before we do, let's look back at game week number 21. How did we get on? And let's reveal the theme, the colour, and the song of the week. So, looking back at week 21, we had a pretty good week. Once again, getting two correct scorelines in the Watford 1-0 victory over Norwich, and also in the good win for Barnsley 2-1 over Huddersfield. Elsewhere, we got correct results in the Swansea game, the Reading game, the Bristol City game, and then some correct goal difference and results in the games between Nottingham Forest and Birmingham, and also Derby and Preston, and that was it. Yep, that was it. So, pretty good week by me. So it does leave me on a overall total score of 498. You love to see it. And before this week, I was, of course, or at least the last week, I was on 463. So that's a very solid score of 35. Get in. So, yeah, hopefully we can get past that 500 mark. I mean, if we don't, it'd be a bit embarrassing. We only get 2 points, or less than 2 points. But obviously, we need to really do well this week. There's 11 games, so out of all of the games are possible, 88 points. Let's get cracking. So, the theme of the week for this week is going to be, it's a Venus flytrap. Venus flytrap, the plant. Don't know why, but it just felt right. So there is the theme of the week for this week. But what is the colour of the week? It is going to be, suiting with the plant theme, green. And the song of the week is Mean Demeanour by Run the Jewels. And this is an absolute tune. I remember this from a FIFA game, or from one of the FIFAs, and it basically goes, Mean Demeanour. I've forgotten it. Oh dear. Alright, I have to listen to it again to remember. But yeah, that's the song of the week. I'll put it down in the description. But let's get into it. The first game to predict is Birmingham against Derby, and I don't know, it's a tough one to call because both sides have been struggling. So for that reason, I'm going to go with a stalemate here. I just feel that neither side will really be able to carve an opening. And Derby's last game was, of course, that clash against Preston North End, and they lost 1-0. So not good time that Wayne Rooney's having as manager, and I think that will continue. But Birmingham, on the other hand, got a 0-0 draw with Nottingham Forest, and I just think Birmingham defensively are quite good with the likes of Pedersen and Roberts, but going forward, they're not really much of a threat, and it was surprising to see that Djukovic was on the bench against Nottingham Forest, but he might play this game. However, I just don't feel they'll find that winning moment. So, yeah, 0-0 between Birmingham and Derby. The next game to predict is Sheffield Wednesday taking on Middlesbrough. Now, I guess you could say this is a little bit of a derby, and they're fairly close in geography, but Sheffield Wednesday's last game was, of course, that matchup with Blackburn, and they got a decent 1-1 draw with Rovers, and Tony Pulis will be quite happy with that. It was an absolute screamer, by the way, from Adam Reach. He doesn't score many, but when he does, they're pretty special ones. And yeah, it was a decent point. Obviously, for Blackburn, the goal came from Rothwell, and that was enough to get the goal and get the point for those two. So the two Tonys shared points, but this is a different game for Sheffield Wednesday that they have to approach with caution because Middlesbrough, especially on the road, have been a very, very good side to play. So, I don't know. I think this is going to be a tight one. Middlesbrough, obviously, coming off of the back of a rest after their game with Rotherham was postponed due to a rise in cases there. But I feel Middlesbrough will take that fresh game and the rested game and go into this with energy and get the narrow 1-0 victory here on the day. Let's say that for Middlesbrough, the goal scorer will be, it's got to be, hasn't it, Britt Assombalonga. Now we've got a game between Norwich City and QPR, and I don't see any way that QPR can get something from this game. I think Norwich have just been far too strong. Obviously, they've lost now as many as Watford have after their 2-0, their 1-0 win defeat to Watford. But they're still a very good team, Norwich. I think they'll still be up there. So I think they're the only ones that can win this game. And I think that QPR, they really are struggling for goals, and they haven't really impressed as of late with... I think it was a strange decision to not start Brighter Say Samwell in the last game against Swansea, but with Swansea, you know they're just going to take their chances, and I think that's going to be the same with Norwich here. So Norwich City 2, QPR 0, and goal scorers for the Canaries I think will be, first of all, Todd Cantwell, and then second of all, I reckon there'll be a goal from the fullback, Aarons. Now it's a game between Huddersfield and Blackburn Rovers. And it's another one that's tough to call here, but I think Blackburn will get the win. Huddersfield have been quite good at home. I mean, over the course of the season, they've been quite poor, but Blackburn, on the other hand, they are a very good team, and they're, other than Norwich, the team that have scored one of the most amount of goals. So, you know, against in the last game against Sheffield Wednesday, they weren't quite clicking going forward. Obviously, Adam Armstrong is on a bit of a goal drought, but I think they probably will get the win. I think Armstrong will be back in the goals because it's just a matter of time, really. So Huddersfield 1, Blackburn 3, and Armstrong will get the first goal, and then Huddersfield will score through Isaac and Benza, and then Blackburn get another couple of goals, and I think the first will come from the returned from injury Bradley Dack, and then the second, well, I think it will be an own goal from Harry Toffolo. Now we've got a game between Luton and Bristol City. Now, this is a tough one to call because Luton have gone off the pace a little bit recently and haven't been clicking and scoring as many goals as they would have want. Whereas Bristol City are a team that at the start of the season looked really, really good. They got a win in the game last week, though, in their game with, who was it with? It was Wickham, that was what it was. Yeah, 2-1 on the day. Obviously, Wickham have been struggling as well, but it was a very much needed win for Bristol City, and Callum O'Dowda keeps playing very, very well. So, I don't know, but I'm actually going to go with Luton this time. I think when they play at home, the Hatters usually do well, and I think Bristol City can sometimes have a bit of a mistake in them. So, I think Luton will get the first goal through a penalty from James Collins. Then Bristol City equalise through, let's say, the man that scored last week, Diediu. And then the winner for Luton will come, in my opinion, from, I don't know. I don't really want to do this, but I'm going to have to. So I'm going to say an own goal from a former Watford player, Adrian Mariappa. I've just got a bad feeling that he'll have the bad luck against his old rivals. But we'll see what happens. Now it's Rotherham against Barnsley, and this is quite an evenly matched game. Both teams are quite, you know, not too big clubs, but also they're not that bad this season. You know, Rotherham have had a few shocks this season. I think they got a point against Bournemouth at one point, and Barnsley, well, they seem to be doing pretty well for themselves. So I think that Rotherham will come back from their time off. I mean, maybe this game gets postponed as well because of the COVID cases. We don't know, but assuming it does go ahead, I'm going to say 1-1 here, and I think Barnsley will just not be able to kill off Rotherham. They will get the first goal. I'm just going to look up some Barnsley goal scorers, though, because I've got to be honest, I really can't think of any. Actually, let's say Cauley Woodrow. Cauley Woodrow gets the opening goal for Barnsley. I'm pretty sure he plays for them. And then the equaliser scored for Rotherham. I'm going to go with a goal from the defender, Richard Wood. I think that's his name, or it's Wood the defender. Now we've got a game that's between Preston and Coventry City. Now I think this is a bit of a one-way sided game. Obviously Coventry have put up a fight recently, and they have been quite good defensively, getting the 0-0 draw last time with Stoke City. A result that I really should have seen coming because both defences have been quite solid. But Preston, on the other hand, have been a bit up and down. It's hard to call what they'll do from week to week. They still have some very good players in there, though, like Scott Sinclair. So I think Coventry will lose this one, but I don't think Coventry fans should be disheartened by their season so far because it's not been terrible. They've been close to results in some games, But I think Preston will be just, clicking in this game, and they'll be in the groove. So Preston North End 3, Coventry 0 is what I'm going to say. I do need to just find some goal scorers for Preston, because genuinely I do not know any of their players. Let's just have a little look. Bear with, people. Let me just find one. Actually, I know one of them. The first goal, it's got to be, hasn't it, for my fantasy team. It's a goal from Scott Sinclair. And then we will say a goal scored by the defender, Ben Davies. And finally, we will say a goal from the fullback that is known by the name of... we could go with... yeah, let's go Darnell Fisher to get the third for Preston. Now we've got a game between Wycombe Wanderers and Cardiff City, and I think this is only one way that it's going to swing. Obviously, the thing with Wycombe is they always put up a fight, and with like people like Akam Femwa and with Jacobson and Cashcott, they are a good side in a way, but are they really going to stay in the Championship? I don't know. It could be tough. And they're facing a Cardiff team here that were pretty unlucky to lose against Brentford. Can I just say, what an absolute screamer that was by Will Vaulks. That was amazing from his own half. And he also scored the second for Cardiff, but it wasn't enough with a hat-trick, a second-half hat-trick from Sergi Canos. But you've got to say, Cardiff are still a good team, and they'll still be up there for the playoffs this season. So I think in these sort of games, for them to really stamp their authority on the league, they need to be winning quite comfortably. So I'll say Wycombe 1, Cardiff City 4. And for goal scorers, the first goal of the game for Wycombe will be scored by the forward that is known as... what's his name? I can't remember it, to be honest. Oh yeah, that's it. Uche Ikpeazu. Uche Ikpeazu. I think he used to play for Watford as well. So he's going to get the first goal. And then for Cardiff City, there'll basically be a second half rout where the game is just basically turned completely around. And the goals will come, first of all, through Shea Ojo. And then 2 goals scored by the midfielder Harry Wilson, on loan, of course, from Liverpool. And then the third goal, that is the third goal, so, get my priorities straight. The fourth goal, to wrap up the game, will be scored by the defender, who keeps getting his head on balls, can I just say, but never scores. So I think the time is over, and it's time for a Sean Morrison goal to wrap up the win for Cardiff. Now we've got a game between Stoke City and Nottingham Forest, and a few weeks ago I'd have said this is quite an even game, because, at the end of the day, Nottingham Forest have still got a good squad. It's just Chris Hughton's not really got them scoring enough goals, and they've really slid down the table, but they are starting to improve bit by bit. But maybe it's just a little bit too late, and a little too little too late for this in time for the game with Stoke City, because Stoke are a good side. The way they defend is resolute, and at home they can score goals. But obviously Fraser Campbell, I'm pretty sure he plays for Huddersfield actually, but they've got Tyrese Campbell, I think, and he's a good player, and they also have a lot of experienced heads in that team. So I would say a draw, but I've just got a feeling Stoke will be better on the day, and I think the first goal will come from Tyrese Campbell, and then the second will come from the defender that is known as Harry Souttar. And now we've got a game that is very, very tasty indeed. It's Brentford against Bournemouth. Now, obviously Bournemouth had their game against Millwall postponed, so they've got a nice rest going into this game, and they're facing a Brentford team that really are doing well. They're unbeaten in something like 7 or 11 games. So it's going to be a tough test, this one, for Bournemouth. And if it was at the Vitality Stadium, I probably would back the Cherries. But I just think Brentford are so good at home. And they look like a side that really are playing well. And they just have a lot of good players that are working in that system that Thomas Frank has set up. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a 2-1 win here for Brentford. And I think Ivan Toney will be back in the goals. A brace. And then a late consolation scored for Bournemouth by Dan Gosling. And then we've got the final game. It's Swansea versus Reading. Good game, this one. I think it's a Wednesday night kickoff. These are all, of course, midweek games, but I think this will end Swansea 2, Reading 1, because Swansea seem to just be doing enough to get the job done, and Reading, well, they've been off the boil recently in terms of, when you think about how they started the season, but they still have a lot of good players that can win you games, like Matchday, like Elise, and especially Lucas João, who has not scored for a while, but I think Reading will huff and puff, but they won't be able to break down the Welsh defence to get anything other than a loss. So Swansea 2, Reading 1, and who should we say for goals? Let's say the first goal will come from Andre Ayew, who of course got that goal against QPR. Got a little bit lucky, I suppose you could say, with the way it just bounced back to him. But, at the end of the day, it's a poacher's finish, and he won't mind that to end his run of not scoring. So, yeah, I think Andre Ayew will get the goal. But then Reading equalise. Who will be the man to draw the Royals level? That's a good question. I'm going to go for a goal from... it would help if it didn't come up with Rooster instead of Roster. That's not too helpful. Okay. Oh, for goodness sake. We'll get there eventually, people. It's just being a bit slow. Right. The equaliser for Reading will be from the man that didn't score last week, but I think he will this week, George Puskas. And then the winner for Swansea, tough one, but I'm going to go with the man that is in the middle for Swansea in that midfield, and a man that hasn't scored in a while, but obviously he's been out with injury, and I think, well, no, actually, he's probably still injured, Morgan Gibbs-White, so we won't go with him, but we will go instead with the midfielder known as Corey Smith, the man that used to play, of course, for Bristol City, but he is the number 7, and he will get number 2 to win the game for the Swans. Thanks for watching these championship predictions, and yeah, make sure you listen to a bit of mean demeanour in the week, and I shall see you in the next video. Thanks for watching this one, though, and I shall see you next time. Bye-bye.